Today I'm going to show you how we can add a movie clip to your button. We're going to put the movie clip in the over stance. So let's begin. Open up the button that we created in our last lesson. This was our MHHS button that used the code snippet where you went to the MHHS homepage. What I want to do is I want to add a button that's going to have a bar, a box, increase and decrease, fade in and fade out when I put my cursor in the over button, in the over state. So let's create that animation first. That animation is going to be a movie clip. So to begin, we want to create a new movie clip. We can go up to the Insert menu and hit New Symbol. The keyboard shortcut to create a new symbol is Control F8. Give your movie clip a name. I'm going to say Grow Shrink. Make sure that you define it as a movie clip. Hit OK. When you get a movie clip, when you make a movie clip, you're going to notice that you don't see the border of your stage. But if you show your rulers, go to View, Rulers, you also can create a guideline for you. This might make it easier for you. All right. So let's create our guideline. Remember, we're using a standard button, which will be 120 pixels by 60 pixels. Remember that I always like to use my center point as in the middle of the graphic. Therefore, my 0 point is in the center. So I'm going to move my guide so I have it at 30 points and 10, 20, 30 points. I can pull these guides right from the ruler. I'm 120 pixels wide, so I want to use 60 points on one location and a positive 60 on the other. So I'm going to be working within this box. So guides and rulers just help you in planning your animation. All right, we are going to create a classic tween. I'm going to use alpha to fade in and out, and I'm also going to use my transform tool to grow and shrink. I'm going to use a rectangle tool. So I have my keyframe selected. I'm going to choose my rectangle tool. In my property window, I'm going to use white for my fill, and I'm going to say no line. So make sure you have no line. And I want a white fill. Fill in this space, and I'm going to start small. So I just need to do like a little rectangle in the middle, which is fine, using my guide. Now, in addition, I want my alpha for this object to be 0. Well, I've made my shape. In order to change my alpha, I have to make this a symbol. This is going to be a graphic symbol. So, click on your object. You don't need to worry about double-clicking because I had no outline. If you drew an outline, double-click to select your entire object. Let's create this into a symbol, F8. Give it a name, and I'm going to call it just a box. And this is a graphic. It's a graphic. Notice how I have my center registration point. All right, I'm in frame 1. I want to make this small and transparent. Well, it's transparent, so let me use my free transform tool. I'm going to make it just a little bit smaller. Your object is selected, so I can go to my style in my property window, choose alpha, and make my alpha 0. Drag it down to 0. It's disappeared. I want this to fade in 1 second. So I'm going to go, since I have 24 frames per second as my default, I'm going to stick with that. And in frame 24, I'm going to copy this keyframe, F6. At this point, I want my object to be the size of my button. So I'm just going to increase its size. I also want my alpha to be 100%. So now you see I begin at 0 alpha and a smaller box, and I end at 100% opacity and a bigger box. Turn your classic tween on and notice that it grows. It fades in and it grows. I now want to fade it out. Remember, we're making a movie clip, so it's going to loop. Fade in, then fade out, fade in, then fade out. Let's go another 24 frames to frame 48. Insert your keyframe, F6. I'm copying the contents from the prior keyframe. So what do I want to do here? Click on my object, change my alpha back to 0. In addition, I want to make this smaller, so simply drag in. Turn your classic tween on, right-click between the 2 points, select Create Classic Tween. Now I have a movie clip. Notice how it will loop going in and going out. Check your library. The box must stay here because it's a part of my movie clip, and here is my movie clip. Let's go back to our button now. We want to add the movie clip into my overstate in my button. Now, I'm not doing this in scene 1. I'm doing it in my button. So you can double click on your button in your library to open it up. My button is opened. Click on the over keyframe. We are going to now drag and drop my movie clip on top of my button in the over stance. I am now ready to test my movie. Let's Control Enter. Bring my cursor over. Do you see my box fading in and fading out? You've just created an animated button using a simple classic tween animation which you created as a movie clip. Good job. Please save this movie as a different name.